Alright, so we got a battle here against Kenpach2. It starts out with my Jirachi versus his Uxie. Now, I set up my rocks, predicting him to set up his rocks, but he ended up using Trick. I guess he didn't expect me to have a Scarf on my Jirachi. Now, I knew he was going to keep using Trick because he knows I have to switch. So, I switched to another choice Scarfer, and that made his Trick even more useless. So he switches in his Snorlax, predicting the Shadow Ball probably, but I'm just using Thunderbolt because I know he had to switch, so Shadow Ball wouldn't have been effective. I switch in Swampert, predicting either Crunch or Fire Punch, and it turned out to be Fire Punch. Even though Fire Punch does less, I would have preferred Crunch just because Fire Punch has a 10% burn rate, and a burn Swampert is pretty much useless. So here I'm just scouting his team right now, and a Heatran comes in, so I'm thinking he's either gonna switch or use Hidden Power Grass. So I use this opportunity to switch, and if he switches, my Rotom H is faster than whatever comes in, and if he stays in, my Rotom H can survive the Hidden Power Grass. And pretty much it was just to scout his team. Here he ends up setting up his rocks, and I'm just using Shadow Ball. Since I know he's gonna switch here, I switch out, predicting something else to switch in. I was predicting Snorlax because I was using Shadow Ball. That's why I switched in Jirachi, so I can Iron Head it and flinch it until it's dead. But it turns out to be Heatran, which was not a good switch in for my Jirachi. Anyway, he ends up poisoning my Swampert on the switch, which was good because I had a Jirachi out, so it was a really good play on his part. And I'm back to scouting his team here. So at this point I'm just trying to figure out all 6 of his Pokemon, and I know Snorlax is going to use Return here. He's not going to use Curse. Pretty much the only did I say Swampert? I meant Snorlax. Pretty much the only Snorlaxes you see are Crunch ones, not Crunch ones, Curse ones, and Choice Band ones nowadays. But Lucario comes in, and I see that a close combat would be able to finish me off, so I know he's going to use that. So I switch to my Rotom and to take the close combat, and just like I predicted, close combat was used. So here I use Thunderbolt, just it's the strongest move I have, or the most reliable move I have, more likely. And he sends in his Uxie as Death Fodder. Now in comes Swampert, and I was predicting the Roar here because he knows I have to switch. So it didn't turn out in my favor. Well, he didn't use Roar, but it still didn't affect me. So it was like 50-50. Nothing happened really. It was a pointless move. But I switched in Celebi, predicting either Ice Beam or something. I knew he wouldn't use Earthquake again because he knows I'm staying in, and I knew he wouldn't use Roar. So I figured, you know what? Let me just switch in Celebi to take the Ice Beam and scare him away. But he stayed in and used Roar, so that was pretty ballsy. And a good prediction on his part. This guy, Kenpach, he played really well this game. Better than a lot of people I play. So here, I'm just like, okay, this Swampert's kind of annoying. Let me just damage him as much as I could. As much as I can. So we exchange some hits, and I send in my Scizor, predicting him to keep using Ice Beam. But he sends in Snorlax, predicting me to keep using Shadow Ball. So the switch turned out good for me and bad for him, but he figured that the switch turned out good for him and stayed in because he has Fire Punch, and I guess he predicted my superpower not to finish him off, or so he could kill my Scizor, but that didn't happen because I'm Choice Banded. So in comes Heatran. Since I saw Toxic on it earlier, I figured it was like a utility, like Toxic substitute like Fire Blast, Earth Power one, like Toxic me and then substitute to stall me out. But it turns out to be Scarfed here because he switched out on my Swampert, and my Swampert is really low health, so that tells me that he wasn't able to use like the secondary move like Earth Power to finish me off. So at this point I realized it was Scarfed. I pretty much realized it was Scarfed like one move too late, which kind of sucks, but you know, what can you do sometimes. Here, I'm guessing he was predicting me to switch to something that would resist the ground move, like Celebi again or something, and he used Ice Beam. But I just stay in because my Swampert is pretty much useless. It's poisoned. I've scouted most of the team already, so eventually that last Pokemon will come out, and I will see it. I don't really need to scout for it anymore. So yeah, I finish him off by beating him in the speed tie the second time. And actually, after this game, I added 4 extra EVs to my Swampert just so I can always win the speed tie, or rather, just always beat another Swampert in the speed. Because I'm tired of like having to guess if the speed tie will win and if I end up beating the opposing Swampert or losing to it. So after this game, I added 4 EVs to it. Anyway, in comes his Gengar, in comes my Jirachi, and I'm predicting to switch to Heatran, so I use Ice Punch, attempting to freeze it. At this point, I don't have U-turn yet. I didn't have U-turn on my Jirachi, so I didn't U-turn out. But in comes this Heatran now, and I'm like, okay, now I can attempt to freeze hacks. He probably predicted me to switch or something, but no, he predicted me to stay in and use Fire Blast again. It kind of sucked I didn't freeze anybody in this match. I usually do. The 20% acts like 60% sometimes, acts like 0% other times. Very unpredictable sometimes. Anyway, I really predicted that Thunderbolt to finish him off, but it didn't. It was a mistake on my part. I should have just sent in Dragonite initially. It would have secured my win, like, it would have made my win more secure than it would have if I just weakened him and then sent in Dragonite. So here I finished the Dragonite off, not the Dragonite, this Heatran off with my Dragonite, and in comes Lucario. He uses Stone Edge, and it misses. It kind of sucks, but Stone Edge, it does that a lot, so you shouldn't be surprised when it does miss. But even if it hit, I have Celebi to back me up, and anyway, that was a good game, closer than usual, and I'll see you guys next time with a new battle.